Hello, my name is Ruchi and I'm your host for the Good Coach podcast. This podcast is driven to tell stories about professionals and their journeys that has led them to where they are today. Our guest today is a senior credit risk officer who has more than 15 years of in-depth experience in credit risk management. She's a debt products and consulting agent gained in banking in the US and commodities trading in the Asia Pac region. Welcome to the show, Lipi. Lipi, how are you doing today?
I am good. And you, Ruchi, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's an honor.
So thank you so much for joining in. And I must tell our guests that we've had a lot of technical issues starting today. So we got quite delayed because the Wi-Fi gods were not very happy with us today. So we've managed and got here today. Thank you, Lipi, again. And let's dive right to it. So
Sounds good.
I did a bit of research about you on LinkedIn. You know, all our lives are there on LinkedIn and social media. And it's an amazing journey. You started off in design architecture and you landed up in credit risk. Please share your story with us.
That is a long time ago. And I have to say that the research is quite good. Yes, I actually started my career, my education in architecture because I joined an engineering college and I had two family members who are architects practicing in India, and somehow they motivated me to become an architect myself. However, when I first started in college, the first year itself, I knew that this was probably not what I wanted to pursue as a career in the long term. I was always like a geek. I really like numbers, and the financial markets really always intrigued me. So I kind of decided that I will continue with the bachelor's in architecture. There's no such thing as dropping out of school in India to do something else, right? But what I did really was, for the transition, I actually did my master's in the US, and the education there helped me make that switch, essentially because I was able to enroll in multidisciplinary courses to kind of travel that gap between architecture and engineering to financial studies. And my career started in banking in credit risk in the US. Yes.
Wow.
Long time.
It's a beautiful journey. I'm sure it's been enriching and it's inspiring those listening that it is possible to switch careers. You need the courage, you need the drive and the passion. Would you agree?
I totally agree. And I have to say that if you know already that you are sort of not too sure about whether you want to pursue this career and as passionate about it, be courageous to make that change. Have a plan and figure out a path to do the transition. And with technology education changing in the world today, I mean, in my time, it was harder, I would say, to make such a big switch, right? But now we have so much more flexibility in terms of our education. I would say that in the US, they're giving a lot of thought to multidisciplinary courses so that you could pursue something that you're not quite sure of, but you think that if you want to do this or that. So these multidisciplinary courses help you to achieve that goal when you need to switch or make a transition. So it has worked for me. I mean, that was a long time ago. So I truly believe it will be quite easily done now.
Yeah, and it helped that you liked numbers and you were fond of it.
Yes, indeed.
And tell me, a woman in a leadership position, especially one in the oil and gas industry, which is primarily, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's primarily a male-dominated industry. What would you say is a myth about this industry or your role there?
You are very rightly saying what is the reality. it is a male-dominated industry. So I have worked in oil and gas for over 15 years now. I would say that the myth that women in leadership positions in the oil and gas industry face is that fact that generally it is believed that we are not as resilient and competent as our male counterparts. And I think the bigger factor is that we are seen to be kind of people, women in the gender, that do not have the grit, so to speak, to withstand the tremendous pressure of the industry, right? So I think it is completely baseless because I have been working in that same industry for 15 years and I have survived and I am in a leadership role, right? So I would say that is a total myth. Stereotype. In leadership positions in my industry, I would say that the stereotype that you face gender discrimination, right? And unequal treatment. This is somewhat true for all industries, especially in banking and oil and commodities, oil and gas and commodities. And it has been reported and documented by women, right? That a lot of women, and not just women, men and women alike. And it's not just true for the oil and gas industry that we do see or face gender discrimination and unequal treatment in terms of pay, promotions, and so on.
That is truly a stereotype. But before I let you move on, I want to say you have not only survived in this industry but thrived, and I think you have done so well with everything that's come your way. This journey that you've been on, you worked hard. I've seen it in all that I read and I researched when I was curating this podcast questions for you, and it's been a crazy journey for you.
It has been, I would say that the pressures are real in the industry, and I do not want to take that away. What I don't agree necessarily is the fact that women are not able to withstand that pressure, right? So you just have to move. The industry is the same for both men and women. How it is perceived when you walk into a meeting room filled with like 20 men and you're the only woman in the meeting, and there is this inherent pressure, to perform or even to behave like the male counterparts in certain situations, right? So there is the pressure, but I think that if you are confident in your knowledge and skill set and the experiences that you have had in your job, and you are good at what you do, eventually, the male counterparts look beyond you being just a woman and someone that brings value to the table, a fresh perspective to the industry and the strategies of the company, and promote diversity and inclusion in a certain way. So there is this positive angle that I think is possible. And it is purely driven by yourself or myself, right?
Would you say for our audience who's listening in, who's wondering how to survive and thrive in a place where they don't feel comfortable, it could be in any role, in any industry, do you think it has had to do with confidence in yourself? It has had to have been with self-belief? What was that one, if not more, things that worked for you that our audience can use when they are feeling stuck?
I think that having confidence or saying that you would, confidence is a great virtue is true, but saying that and actually trying to inculcate confidence in yourself and practice confidence when you are facing challenges at workplace or trying to come up with solutions in the workplace, it really boils down to, in my humble opinion, knowing who you really are. It's self-knowledge, right, of your own strengths and your own, I wouldn't say weaknesses, but things where you can do better, right? So once you know who you are, self-knowledge, self-awareness, I think that confidence comes to you more naturally. And the one other thing about inculcating confidence or building more confidence is to become a subject matter expert in whatever you do, right? So because you know that your knowledge is the base is strong, you have the necessary skill sets to prove that you can do the same job as any other male counterpart or any other person for that matter in a company. So start by building that knowledge, the experiences. Don't be shy to like take on risks and kind of push yourself a bit every single time there is a challenge, and see what you can offer. That slowly builds confidence, and I mean that also comes from acknowledging your weaknesses. I hate the word weakness, but you know,
We can call
yes,
it limitations. And yes,
there we go. Limitations. Yes.
I don't like the word weakness as well. And it's commendable seeing you sharing it because you have worked hard. You've built on your knowledge. You have become self-aware. So what would you say would be a lesson that your work has taught you that you think everyone should learn at some point of time in life? Something that you think is so important to get you success?
Um, the only thing that I think is valuable on a daily basis, and it's like a lifelong pursuit. Okay, there are many lessons that my work has taught me. You know, primarily because I would say 15 years ago, starting as a person who's made that switch from something completely different to joining a bank and in risk management in commodities, is the fact that I don't think that you can learn everything in a degree. The degree that you do, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, or you can do a PhD, but you really, really got to learn, keep learning as you go in the job, right? There are things that the textbooks never tell you. You know, a difficult trader asking you a difficult question, and
That's all practical knowledge you will learn on the job.
exactly on the job, continuous learning is what I think is the mantra, or the biggest lesson that I've learned over my career span. And I'm not saying that it's school learning or academic learning alone. It's about learning from your experiences, learning from your mistakes. It's about reading books that, kind of pique your interest, learning a different language. For example, I'm starting to learn French because I work for a French company, and I really always wanted to learn a different language. Although I speak three languages already, but I feel like it challenges your brain cells to think differently or challenge yourself, or not feel too kind of always bogged down by the mundaneness of work sometimes, right? So it can be really a lifelong pursuit. Keep learning, whatever.
A learner for life. I think that's
Learner for life.
and I don't think any form of education can ever go waste. That's something I believe so truly is. It's worked for me. Like I said, the pursuit of learning, it just enriches our life. It makes it so beautiful and so, you fulfilling. You just want to keep going, and that's amazing. And guys, I want to let you know that Lipi is not only about numbers. She's not just about numbers. She's also a trained singer, Lipi. Can you sing a few lines for us?
Oh my gosh. Sure. It's going to be difficult to remember the words, but I'll sing one of my favorite songs, "Only for You," Ruchi.
Why don't you tell our audience what are you trained in? What kind of singing are you trained in?
Sure. So I was trained as a child in Indian classical music, vocal and dance, and at that I would say that the training and sort of learning in a performing art also gives a lot of confidence, because you sort of step into, I would say, another identity, right? Like when you're performing on a stage, it inculcates and it gives you that self-esteem, the boost of confidence. So I think that, yes, I was really good at, like, I really wanted, was really always reading, but I loved performing art, music, and dance, and participated in a lot of and intercurricular school extracurricular activities. And I think that really helps to build self confidence as an adult as well. So on that note, this is one of my favorite jazz numbers, and it's sung by really beautiful artists, Ella Fitzgerald, you know, Stan. But the reason I love it is because it's gender neutral. You can use it. It has many, interpretations, and you can sing it. It's a lovely tune. So here you go. It's called My Funny Valentine.
Perfect.
All right. My funny Valentine, sweet comic Valentine, you're my favorite work of art. Is your figure less than green? Is your mouth a little weak when you open it to speak? Are you smart? But don't change a hair for me, not if you care for me. Sweet little Valentine, stay. Each day is Valentine's Day.
How beautiful. That is amazing. Thank you, Lipi. I'm so honored that you sang for us.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. I may have missed out the lyrics a bit, but yeah.
You would not tell. It's beautiful. I couldn't tell at all. Thank you. I mean, what's coming to my mind is how do you manage to be this package of beauty, brains, and talent? What did you learn growing up? Who was your role model? Who was the one who inspired you to be who you are today?
Yeah, that is actually a very good question for me, because I always want to understand why I want to do variety of things, and not just my career pursuits as a risk person. I would say that, again, it's similar to what I said earlier, like performing arts, love for music and dance, and kind of also it's kind of a unique mix for me, because I love to perform on stage, for example. I mean, or when I was younger, I was doing that pretty regularly, right? So it's like a very extroverted kind of personality that comes out. And then I'm also very strangely introverted. Like, I was very introverted when I was when I was not singing or dancing. I loved my book, reading a book in my corner. But I think that gave me a good mix of introspection when I was alone, when I had my me time. And then when I was performing, it just gave me this whole love for music and art. And I think it was also my mom who was my constant source of encouragement. She believed that, I could do whatever I want as long as I worked hard toward achieving that goal. And she constantly told me that you do both. You could become an artist and be good at your studies and do well in your career, right? So, but she also taught me how to be disciplined about, things in life, time management. Yes.
Discipline and time management are so important. And I'm so glad you brought it up, because to be able to manage work plus things you love takes discipline. It takes a routine. Do you have a routine? Is it something that you follow, a routine or a ritual that helps you manage things in your day and your life?
I do have a very strong routine. I mean, I would say I follow it quite a lot, because I think it gets you started on a day. You know exactly what to do when you get up. So my morning starts off with generally sleepy, and walking over to my daughter who's getting ready for school and giving her a big hug and telling her I love you. So that is my thing that I do when I open my eyes, followed by a really warm nice glass of water, and then trying to go for a walk. If it's not every day, every other day, and listening to music. And I listen to meditation music. I listen to really good subliminals. I listen to jazz, whatever gives you joy in the morning. So, and then I start to get ready for the day. So that's pretty much what I do every morning. And it sets the tone for the day. You know,
It sets the
that's
right
good.
tone.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think having that morning routine is so important. I don't think we realize the importance and the value of it as much, uh, especially when you're doing it often, or even for people who don't do it. The day takes over rather than you having control of the day. And that's not the kind of day or life you want to lead. You want to be able to, whatever semblance of control, of course, it's not control, it's just semblance of feeling that I have some sense of knowing what my day is going to be like. It starts off on the right tone. So beautiful. And tell me if,
I mean, Sorry, I was going to say it just calms down, right? Because when you are, if you don't have a morning routine, you just start off by trying to do random
yes,
create without you on. So having a routine, I know exactly what to do in the morning, and then I plan my day, and then it doesn't look like so stressful and a big hurdle to achieve.
yeah, yes. And it's all of this we learn with age. I think we as we get older and probably wiser, it's things we are learning. But what if you would go back and tell your younger self something, a piece of advice? What were those things that you wish you had done back then that would give you a bigger boost now? What do you think?
Very simple. I would tell my younger self, play a sport. Uh, I would say, to be more specific, play a team sport.
Wow,
Um,
you never got the
and
chance, or you didn't want to. What was the reason?
yes, primarily because growing up, there were just too many things for me to do already. And being the oldest of four siblings, my mom was already helping me in a lot of things, like, promoting me to go and or encouraging me to go and practice dance and, music. And so we had different kind of interests, but um, I would say that, it was just much to at that point in time, like, because, I wanted to also do really well in my, and being India, I think, now things are changing, but when we were growing up, the emphasis on sports, especially for girls, right? Yeah, it was not that much, and there was not many, I would say, not many facilities to go and play volleyball, for example, which my daughter now easily does, right? So the it was a mix of, yes, it was a mix of lack of opportunity as well as awareness and some level of perception about, women and girls, like what is there a need for them to be in a team sport, for example, right?
But
Yes.
like you said earlier, it's never too late to learn a new
Right.
So now's the time to
Yeah,
pick up a sport and get to it.
get through it. Ruchi, we are trying. I mean, for the last 1 year, I'm practicing tennis, trying to.
Amazing. And I'm so proud of you. That is just so amazing. You're forever learning. And that's the beauty. Forever learning and enriching your life. How lovely.
Exactly.
So tell me, Lipi, the world is calling the 21st century as the Asian century. How do you view the current global markets and the economy, especially as Asia as the power, with Asia as the powerhouse?
It's a very tough question to answer. I think this was this has been talked about a lot with the US and China tensions, the war in Europe, and what it has done to the economies in Europe in general, where I have seen in my professional life for the first time where Germany was struggling to, some of the utilities in Germany was struggling to stay on afloat because of the war, right? So we are in a state of flux. It's constantly evolving. The global economy is constantly evolving. What we have also seen is that the 21st century has been significant in terms of Asia emerging as one of the major powerhouses. And you name the countries like India, China, Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand leading the way. And it has been possible, in my view, because of some factors like globalization, trade liberalization, and advances in technology, right? It has also, I would say that generally Asia as a region has benefited from investments in infrastructure, building of roads, building of rails, building of, schools, in education, I would say infrastructure and education. So there has been some good investments in those fields. And this has also enabled then foreign investments to flow in and expand manufacturing and service sectors in Asia, right? So, but we have also gone through some unprecedented times because of COVID-19 pandemic, and that has caused significant disruptions to global trade and supply chains, and as we have all experienced. But I believe that many Asian economies have shown resilience and adapted to the changing circumstances brought about by COVID-19, right? And the region has continued to grow and attract foreign investment. I mean, that is a very positive side.
So what is in store for Asia? What is in store for us? Is it?
I would say that the region would continue to grow, right? Continue to have exponential trajectories in infrastructure and education, right? However, it's not without any challenges.
Oh, that's true.
The region is still facing significant inequality. We know that. Inequality being income, being quality of life compared to the Western world, pollution and environmental degradation, I would say, that we face in name across the region, Delhi, Beijing, Jakarta, right? So there are all these challenges. We are behind some of the advances in environmental transition to cleaner fuel, carbon neutral. We're behind, a little bit behind, I would say, Europe, for example, right? So, and I would also say that there are some political instabilities in some of the countries, some of the regions in Asia, which are also challenging. Yes. But I mean, again, it's great story for Asia. It has been, but we also need to then focus on not just the problems of today, but also thinking about the future generation, environmental sustainability, political stability, right? So in the coming years, it would be looking at both spectrum, economic stability, economic well-being, as well as political stability, equality, social well-being. So those are the few things I would say are upcoming for us.
For those insights, I think they're very, very helpful. My last question for you, Lipi, if you could, some parting words of advice or, just something you could share with our audience listening in that you experienced in your journey of your professional life, your personal life as well. You switched careers at a young age. It was not easy, but you did it. you move to an industry that is not your comfort zone. What would you, say to someone who would be stepping in, probably, who's beginning this journey in the professional world? What should they remember? What are the things they can fall back on in those times when they feel lost, confused, and just not sure?
I would say that, we have touched on this throughout our podcast, Ruchi. I think having confidence in what you do really is key to career success and personal growth. But, I am of the belief that just by saying that I have to be confident doesn't really lend you anywhere. You have to figure out what is it that would make you confident. Is it understanding where your limitations are and working toward sort of getting lesser and lesser worried about the limitations, or taking more risks where you are not always wanting to be in your comfort zone, right? Taking few steps out of your comfort zone. Maybe I should try to kind of be a bit more bold and raise my hand in a meeting and ask a question. Simple things
Even
like
if,
that.
even if it's the wrong question, even if
There's
it's,
never a wrong question.
I love that. I love that.
It's never a wrong question. It can be an intense question, easy question, never a wrong question, right?
Beautiful. And that's what we forget. And
Yes,
glad you corrected me, because we forget there are no wrong questions. There's just knowledge to be shared and learned from.
exactly. Even with my, the journey that I've had 15 years working, I sometimes still have that moment of hesitation. Oh my gosh, do I ask this question, right? What would people think if I ask this question? Or if I, not even a question, but just to speak my opinion in a setting where there are a lot of people, there are your male counterparts who sometimes, not always they're encouraging, especially in my industry, right? But you just tell yourself, I am going to speak my mind, and even if it means people judge you, it's not none of my business. I will learn something from that experience. Right?
I think it's pushing
That is
yourself
one
to
thing.
take that step out of your comfort zone.
Yes, you have to take small risks at the beginning. Learn how to take those risks, those extra steps. Because if you're always and not asking the right questions, not showing up as someone who understands, you may have a ton of knowledge, but if it is all inside of you and nobody knows that you have this knowledge and skill set, then nobody will put you up for the next role or the next promotion, So you got to, step outside of your comfort zone. The other thing I would say is that, again, I already said that as women, we always kind of doubt ourselves, right? Am I the right fit? Do I deserve this promotion? And we are too soft sometimes to ask for what we want. So, I mean, if you've worked hard and you know that this is something that you've deserved, ask for it. Like, don't be shy. I'm not saying you have to be obnoxious when you're asking. You can ask nicely, but ask. That's what I tell myself. Oh, Lipi, you don't have to be obnoxious. You don't have to be rude. You just have to ask.
Polite. I need to know this. I just, it's going to help all of us, me included, and let's get to it. Amazing. Thank you for all those golden nuggets that you have shared with me and our audience. You get so much benefit from it, Lipi. I'm so grateful and honored to have you on The Good Coach. And thank you again for your time. And really appreciate it.
It has been a pleasure
Thank you.
being on this show. Thank you very much.